Officially, this is a 50cc scooter from China. Unofficially, nobody really knows what it is. What I do know is that it costs half the price of those Aprilia scooters that sound exactly like a mosquito. And I'm going to show you how I turned it into an adventure bike. Well, adventure bike might be a stretch. Before we start, I actually made a work order for this upgrade. First order of business was installing new, wider and grippier tires, cutting down the windshield, installing an alarm system, installing cruise control. I'm going to show you how I built a custom luggage rack for this bike and how I fitted those 20-liter LS bags on the sides, painting the wheels black. Many of you asked me, what is this phone holder? It's actually a phone holder I built myself, and I'm going to show you how I built it. And since I already have one, I'm making the second one just for the video, and I'm going to be giving it away since I don't need a second one. And all of that packed in 2 videos. So let's get to it. Why I'm doing this on a 50cc bike? I've had this thing for a year, and in that year I took it off-road on gravel roads, up hills that had no business being on its route. And every single time it didn't care. You point it at something and it just climbs. It got those big 17-inch wheels and it can really surprise you. But the real reason I didn't just buy a proper bike for this, it's simple, it's money. Insurance is only 10 euros for a full year. Parts are cheap, maintenance, I can do it all myself, and that matters because I sold my last real bike when it was time to change the tires. I was looking to pay 400 euros for a set of 2 tires. I just got a set of 4 Nokian winter tires for my car for 250. What's happening with motorcycle tires? First order of business, tires. Because the stock ones were terrible. I think train wheels have better grip than that. Because this bike is not using some white high-performance tires, I could get them for really cheap. I went with Mitas tires, very good price and much better grip. Let's get on with changing the tires. To remove the rear wheel, you need to remove the axle, which is held on by 15mm bolt on one side and 17 on the other. After you remove the axle, the wheel is held on only by the chain. So after you remove the chain, the rear sprocket will drop on the ground if you are not holding it. The rear sprocket is not attached to the wheel permanently, it is only held in place by those rubber things inside the wheel that help absorb the shock when the throttle is applied. I am also going to remove the disc so I don't damage it when I am changing the tires. And just like that, the disc is gone. I'll remove the core from the valve so I can deflate the tire completely. And this is the setup for changing the tires. Make sure you're wearing your safety socks. Safety first. Maybe now it's a good time to say that I have never changed a tire on a motorcycle. But there is first time for everything, right? At this point, you might think, okay, that was easy, he knows what he's doing. Please, do not be fooled. I have no idea. Okay, so one side is removed. That was easy, but let's see the other. And drop the rim directly on the ground. What did I tell you? check the damage, make sure it's not that visible. In the meantime, you need to be baking your new tires on the sun at 250 degrees for 10 minutes. If you're yet not convinced that I have zero clue what I'm doing, here's another thing. I saw a guy online using this trick to fit new tires much easier. And I followed that video. I am glad to say that I only wasted 20 minutes before deciding to cut the zip ties and try to fit the tire the normal way. That was a waste of time. I'm using some dish soap on the rim and the tire so it slips in easier. Here I'm using a trick I learned from a chimpanzee a few months ago while I visited the zoo. And that worked perfectly. One side is on. Now apply your favorite lubricant again and use all your available limbs to hold the tire and press it onto the rim. You know what? An octopus would be great at changing tires.
Almost got it. Just a little more pressure.
I found another use case for the zip ties, just to hold one side of the tire in place while I work on the other. And just like that, after 30 minutes, it's done. But not without consequences. I didn't even realize when I cut my finger, but a quick bandage and let's move on. I don't have a compressor, so a quick trip to the gas station. And just like that, the rear is done, and let's move on to the front tire. The front wheel is much easier to take off. You just need to loosen the two bolts that are clamping the fork to the axle, and then you can just unscrew the axle from the right side. After you remove the axle, the only thing holding the wheel is the speedometer sensor. You can just pull it out and the wheel comes right out. Okay, so this is Chinese engineering at its best. They are using 5 tiny bolts to hold this massive disc. And the disc on the rear, that is half its size, was held on by bigger screws. So what's happening here? Removing the front tire was much easier, maybe because I had 50% more experience now. And yup, this time I didn't drop the rim on the ground. Well, that's an improvement. So I checked the time on the camera that was recording the whole time while I was changing the front tire. To remove and to fit the new tire, it took me only 7 minutes. I was so impressed. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't impressed by my skills. I was impressed on how soft this tire had become after sitting in the sun for 1 hour. And that's it, moments away from success. Do the little trick the chimpanzee told you, and we are done. As you can see, it's the next day. I couldn't continue fitting the wheels yesterday because I had to go buy properly rated screws that will hold the front disc. I couldn't just use generic ones, and I destroyed 2 of the screws that are holding the front disc because they were stuck. I had to weld a tool on top of the screw, and that way I could get them out. They were not coming out any other way. So I got those longer ones rated up to 12.9, and they will do much better than the factory ones. Here is the difference: the old and the new tires. It's a huge improvement. I can finally screw back on the front disc with some properly rated screws. Now the next step is to add grease to the axle, and this is grease that I had for the last 15 years, and it will probably last me another 10. This is the speedometer sensor that was giving me trouble. It will definitely not be fixed after this. I just need to align the holes, put the axle through, and we are done. That was too easy. Oh man, that tire tread looks amazing. Let's move on to the rear. You gotta love those safety socks. This one is a bit more complicated because you need to hold like 3 or 4 things and align them at once, but let's see how it goes. Tighten the screws to exactly 6.9 Newton meters, and that should be good. Now I'm adding those rubber things that I have no idea what they're called. They just help absorb the shock when you twist the throttle. I'm using zip ties to attach the sprocket because at this point it's not holding by anything. Adding some grease. And we got 2 spacers, one goes on the left and one on the right side. Now this part is a bit tricky because you need to align like 4 things at once: the brake, the chain, and also those chain adjustment screws. And you need to hold all of them together and somehow put the axle through, which I managed to do on the first try after 2 failed ones. And this bolt also needs tightening to about 6.9 Newton meters. That should be good to go. Now the only thing left is to test if one of the wheels comes off. Against all odds, I think we are good. The difference is night and day. Now I can step on the brake full force and the bike just stops. That's what grip's supposed to feel like on a bike. Next, the windscreen. The original was oversized. It looked like it came from a Harley Davidson Road King from the 80s. You remember those? Here you can see how ridiculous this windscreen actually is. Just as ridiculous as that guy with 3 people on the bicycle. What is this, India? I cut it down 7 to 8 centimeters and I use the mounting holes as reference so I can pull a very straight line across it. I covered it in masking tape, marked it and cut it with an angle grinder. And I don't have footage of that because once I finished cutting, I realized my camera is not recording. I cleaned up the edge with sandpaper, started with 100 grit, then 600, 1000 and finished with wet sanding at 2000 grit. It's much better, looks proportional for this bike now. If you're going to say that was here for a reason to protect you from the wind, what wind? This thing can't even reach 100. While I had things apart, the wheels, they came silver and black from the factory, kind of a mixed finish. I always hated that, it just looked too messy, so I painted them full black, except this ring here, because if I painted it, I knew I was going to mess it up with mounting the tires, so I left it as is. It's a simple change, but it makes a huge difference in my opinion. And one more thing for this video, an alarm system. I'm not going to show you exactly where or how it's mounted for obvious reasons, but I'll show you how it works. I press this button here to activate it. It beeps and now I wait for a second beep. Now the alarm is armed. If I move the bike even a little bit, the alarm will turn on. Okay, so that is just to remind me that the alarm is on, but if I keep messing with it, it will turn on again and won't stop until I turn it off with the remote. So let's try that. I know this is not going to stop a determined thief, nothing really does, but it's just enough to make a lot of noise and make someone think twice, and maybe just try the next bike around the corner and skip yours. Let's check off the work order. Tires done, windscreen done, wheels, alarm done. 4 down. In part 2, I'm going to show you how I built those side racks and how I mounted the side bags, making a metal phone holder that I'm giving away, adding cruise control and much more. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And leave a comment telling me what I should upgrade next. The best suggestion wins the phone holder, and I'll announce the winner in part 2. Officially, this is a Chinese scooter from China. Stop recording.